I had one customer buy $5,600 in TCG from me in 1 month. This actually exposed a massive problem in my Pokemon business, and it forced me to ask myself something that most people in this space completely ignore. These are my sales last August. I had $9,300 in revenue, and I only had 15 orders, which is actually a really slow month. So I wasn't running any special sale. I still had $9,000 in sales. And the reason why is because one customer bought over $5,000 in stuff from me, and then another customer bought over $2,000 in stuff from me. So 2 customers made up the overwhelming majority of my sales in this period of time. Now, the month before this was an active month. I'm slinging singles. I'm working full time. I'm barely sleeping. I'm barely eating. I'm doing orders every day. And my revenue was lower and my profit was a lot lower. So this month, when I'm barely active, I made way more profit. I made way more sales. So what the heck was going on here? Half of my TCG business was from one guy. Now, I'm somebody who runs sales like this all the time. $3.99 Destin Rival packs. I did this, and I slung a lot of them. During this month, I made a lot of trips to the post office. Tons of money in gas for not a lot of profit. You don't make a lot of profit selling Destin Rivals packs for $3.99 with free shipping. You don't make a lot. But when I'm shipping dozens of orders, and it's time consuming. And then when I had an off month where I made way more money and made way more profit, something wasn't adding up. I didn't really know what I wanted from my business at the time. I just wanted to have a good TCG business. And this is where things started getting weird. I started thinking of my top 1 or 2 customers and then all of the rest of the customers combined. The big customers had simple orders. They didn't harass me, message me, complaining about stuff running out. They didn't have issues with stuff. But out of all of the 80% of the other orders, all the small guys, a lot of them are the ones that send me hate emails. They bombard me with hate on YouTube and I have to, delete the comments and all that. So I realized something was completely backwards in my Pokemon business, but I just couldn't figure out what it was yet. So most businesses are either supply constrained or demand constrained. TCG is supply constrained. That means it's easy to sell, but it's really hard to get stuff. I'm going to touch on this later, but I was thinking, what is the perfect customer? What is the best customer experience? What's the best thing for me as a seller? So the perfect customer for me is somebody who orders consistently. He buys higher ticket items. There's more volume, minimal communication needed. He doesn't send me angry emails. I don't need to send him 100 shipping updates. He just sees the tracking number. He knows how to look at the tracking number without harassing me every 10 minutes. He doesn't call me a scammer. He doesn't say, Danny Phantom selling for cheaper, even though he was sold out in 1 minute. He just buys and he moves on. That's the perfect customer for me. And then with my problem customers, it was completely different. My problem buyers saw that I would run sales for Pokemon packs under MSRP, and they would harass me every 4 days. Do you have more stuff that you can sell for under MSRP? Brigading me with different emails, hate emails. They would say I could buy for cheaper from Walmart, and I would say, please do it. I'm not forcing you to buy from me. I don't want you to. Then they would say, well, they're sold out. Then you can't buy from Walmart. What logic is that? I literally do not want your business because you cause stress and time. And it's completely normal for a business to not want a certain type of customer. And with all this back and forth after delivery, some of them would open it up, say, oh man, I bought 5 packs from you for $4 each, but I didn't get a good hit. I got a hit, but not what I consider a hit. Therefore, they must be resealed or something. No, bro. That's just how the odds of Pokemon cards are. They don't understand. They cause the most problems and they hurt your business. And they would just take so much time to fill these orders. Like, I'm barely sleeping to cater to these dudes. Like, what is wrong with me? I'm running a business here, but it's like I'm running a charity to people who hate me. It got really weird, dude. It's like I'm a supervisor in my normal job, and we'll get an old lady who's comparing 2 $1 products, and she's taking up 30 minutes of an employee's time until she decides on which one she wants. So if it costs the company 50 cents and then we sell it for $1, that sale is going to give the company 50 cents. And if they're paying employees $20 an hour, it costs the company $10 to make that 50-cent profit. This is considered a bad customer, and this is why it's sometimes hard to find people who just want to talk to customers all day. There's nobody just purely for customer service. It's because companies lose money doing this. That's why the whole skeleton crew was a thing, where when the virus happened, companies realized, oh, we can just kind of let everything go and still make money because certain customers are never going to complain and they're going to give us the most profits. And unfortunately, it's still pretty bad like that. But just think about the paradox of one guy's shoving money in my face and the other people are punching me in the face, and I'm spending the most time catering to the people who punch me in the face instead of shove money in my face. That's literally what's happening here. Like, this is insane, man. Okay, maybe not literally, but metaphorically. And it's because I was trying to focus on getting my 5-star rating up as fast as possible. Those were my current business goals. It still kind of made sense to cater to this people because I want a high volume of people. So I was focused on making as many sales as possible, and I was running cheap deals all the time, and I was just trying to move volume. And in a weird way, it's not even that customer's fault because I was setting stuff up this way. If you're a business owner, everything's your fault, man. Everything. Like, bro, they only wanted to buy under MSRP. They only wanted free shipping. And I gave that sale all the time, but they also got angry at me. Like, this was the type of customer I was catering to. I was prioritizing them over the people who would buy a high volume at a higher price and complain less. I was prioritizing these annoying people. So even though most weeks I was super busy, going to the post office all the time, spending my own gas, ramping my sales up, you know, look how high my sales are. These are how many packs I brought into new homes. That was my goal. I want the most amount of homes to have cheap Pokemon cards. Look how good I'm doing. I was just doing so much busy work. I was working in my business, but I wasn't working on my business. There was no time for strategy. And I know it's stupid, and you might be laughing at this, but a lot of people who own TCG shops, especially online, a lot of the people on YouTube that you're watching right now, especially the guys in the bulk world who talk about bulk all the time, a lot of these people are doing the same thing still. So when I started seeing this pattern in all these different TCG businesses online, I started asking, why is this happening? And it basically comes from what their strategy is. So here's the TLDR of what my strategy was. I would run aggressive deals under MSRP is insane. Who else sold as cheap as me? I couldn't find one person. And the reason why is because there is no strategic advantage in business to being the second cheapest. If that's the kind of person you're being, you want to have the cheapest deals, then you have to be the cheapest ever. Otherwise, you have no advantage. And that's also why it's not a good idea for long term. But at least I got to say, I'm the good guy in the market, the good guy who doesn't have enough money to put more packs in homes because he's not making as much money as he could because he's selling so cheap. So it also hurts things with my goal. Now, there is an upside to being cheap. You don't make as much profits, but it does give your business a lot of attention. It attracts buyers really quick. So it's actually good for early growth, and it's also good for cash flow. So selling cheap can, and it does work in the TCG space. Just ask Danny Phantom. It can work, but also it doesn't. Because a lot of these people you think are doing it the right way, they're doing it the successful way, a lot of them are also working full-time jobs still. Because it's actually not as successful as you think. And no hate to anybody working a full-time job, I do too. But this is going to attract price-sensitive customers who are deal-focused and not relationship-focused. And you see that with Danny Phantom. Everyone talks about how much they love him. And then the second perfect order is cheaper than MSRP. The second that happens, they save $1 by not buying from him. All these people that swear up and down he's the best, they went to TCG Player because it's $1 cheaper. Crazy how that actually works. Not in theory, but in practice, where they follow the money, because that's the kind of person you attracted, and that's what I noticed happens. They are there for the deal, and not you. And that's okay. That's how business works. What is in it for the customer? That's their mindset. Now think about respect. People like Danny Phantom, people who always sell for MSRP, they might get respect, right? Well, I respect them at least. Yeah, but the people who buy from me for over MSRP respect me, and I still run out of product. Does that make sense? That you're getting respect either way? I'm just not getting respect from the people who are going to screw me later. Everybody sucks in real life. Just how it is. Hey, buddy. Him's a good boy. So bringing it back, and just to clarify, not everybody who buys cheap is a problem. That's not at all what I'm saying. And there's always going to be nuance to things. But most of the problems are going to come from this group. Trying to scam you with different accounts to overcome limits. I see your mailing address, bro. I know it's you. Requesting refunds when you don't get hits. Post-purchase issues. Claiming you never got the product when the tracking number says you did. But not everybody in that group is a scumbag. But most of the scumbags are in that group. That's the problem. So I wasn't just forcing myself to make less money per order. I was spending more time to deal with those customers. I was choosing to do that. Meanwhile, the best customer I had is shoving money in my face and taking half my stuff and not giving me issues because that price point made sense for him. I decided to stop optimizing my business for the customers that are the hardest to deal with. And when I decided to do that, I realized it wasn't even just about pricing. This was about how I was structuring my whole TCG business. The real problem was how I was spending my time. Because at the end of the day, money is replaceable in business. I know it's hard to come by, but money is replaceable. Time's not. I only have so many hours and so many days off to run this business. And I was burning all of these hours I had on low value work. Just like all the guys spending 10 hours a night listing bulk. Imagine what they could actually do if they weren't spending the time on that crap. Selling trading cards right now is a supply constrained business. So taking time to source inventory, totally worth the return on your time. You could double the amount of stuff you get for a good price if you know how to supply inventory. If you're not bogged down by these crappy sales all the time, making a decision that helps you in the long run, not just next month. And trust me, there's opportunity right now in this bull market to make a lot of money in the TCG business if that's your goal. Whatever your goal is, know your goal. There's a lot of money, and I'll go over that later in this video. There's a lot of opportunity if you have the time. Every hour you're dealing with small, crappy orders is an hour you're not finding distributors. And that's a huge example because it's one of the hardest things to do. I know that. But it's an hour you're not spending like making your case ready for the distributors, you know. And I mean, if you like hustling, then you get caught in this trap even more. Because a lot of you guys are so hardworking that it's actually a problem. There's nothing wrong with hustle culture. I will disagree with people who think there is, and I have my thoughts. Maybe I'll make a video about it. There's nothing wrong with the hustle culture, but the problem with these people who are able to live in that mindset, but doing these low leverage activities and dealing with crappy customers does feel productive, but it ain't moving your business at all, bro. And if things are optimized to save time because it's so time consuming to deal with these customers, then things aren't optimized to actually grow your Pokemon business. And that's what I realized. And I realized that if I were to keep doing that, I would hit my ceiling fast. So the ceiling that I'm talking about is there's only so many hours in the day. You can't scale volume without burning out. You can keep doing more work to a point, but eventually you have to start doing better work. So bringing it back, the more small tasks my TCG business had, the less money I was going to make. And that's where I realized that my goals kind of changed. I started Happy Tiger Gaming because I injured my wrist and I had to quit my job. I thought, I know enough about business at this point, I can make it work. I couldn't, but that's what I thought. And that's when I started Happy Tiger Gaming with the goal of replacing income. I wanted 100 sales on TCG Player. I wanted 5 stars on Google, on eBay, on TCG Player. And to get this, I had cheap sales. I was taking every single order. My behavior was tied to my goals. I was focusing on cardboard volume. So much cardboard was coming out of my house. It was crazy. I didn't generate as much cash flow as I wanted. I didn't build as much momentum as I wanted, but it got me in the game. It worked. When my goals changed, that approach ended up hurting me more than helping me. The behaviors were tied to the wrong goal. So I thought, what is my new goal? Because I was so stuck spending all this time on orders. I never had time to think, what's my new goal? What's step 2? Where do I need to go? And what do I need to do to get there? What am I doing with my life? I want to sell to small stores, to online sellers. I want to be able to be the supplier, be like, hey, I'll make a little bit. And for this new goal to work, I need to really focus on efficiency and not just activity. So with the old goal, I wanted more orders. My new goal, I wanted better orders. So I just made a decision. I'm not going to operate like I need to make every small sale anymore. I'm not going to operate my TCG business like this. No, that's not even the goal right now. And that's the misalignment. And there's a lot of people in the TCG space right now. Their behaviors don't match their actual goals. They can't tie them together. They say they want to scale and they're spending 5 hours a day sorting through 2-cent cards. Those don't match, man. They say they want bigger sales, but they only attract deal hunters. Like, those things also don't really match up. So because my goals changed, my strategy had to change with it. Otherwise, man, I'm just going to be stuck in the same place doing the same thing, and I'm too old for that. I'm way too old for that crap. My goal was to act like a distributor, but we can lock in even more and actually make the math work. To start, I'm like, okay, it'd be cool if I could get $10,000 of cards out my door, $10,000 in sales in a year. Very, very small goal, but very achievable, right? Is it realistic? Yes. Is it actionable? Yes. Is it time bound? Yes, in a year. $10,000 a year in sales, that's $834 a month. So now you can break it down. What products will give me $834 a month in sales? You can actually figure it out now and go towards the goal that you had because you made it specific and you put a timeline behind it. What products am I moving? Do I have access to this kind of inventory? Where am I storing it? What do I need to make this happen? And that's why behind me you'll see a lot of sealed cases, because sealed cases are going to get me there a lot faster. I know that moving sealed Magic the Gathering cases supports my goals way more than selling Pokemon for MSRP. That's why I spend a lot of time on Magic the Gathering now. And my old strategy didn't line up with those numbers at all. Not even a little bit. And for me, locking in on this immediately pointed to the constraint in my Pokemon business. Supply. Finding customers is easy. Locking in on supply is the hard part. So my goal changed and it made me move different. And if my behaviors don't line up with my goals, then I got to change something where I'll never hit the goals that I want. And a lot of people in the TCG space haven't even done this. They don't even know a specific goal they have. They just say, make money, I guess. Well, that's going to show how far you get, man. So like I said, once I locked in on my goal, it became obvious what the constraint in my TCG business was. Supply. A lot of newbies think selling cards is the hard part. Like selling Pokemon cards, the biggest IP in the world, selling is incredibly easy. Getting product consistently is the hard part. Like if I want to move $10,000 in product, I need access to $10,000 in product, and I need it reliably, and I need to make the price point make sense. I might have a few magic tricks up my sleeve, but I can't sell what I don't have. Locking in a supply might be buying collections, bulk, finding stores that sell sealed product and just having a whole list of them. Finding a way to actually lock in real distribution. I did it somehow, so you might be able to. Just saying, I have videos on it, bro. If you don't have a huge social media presence, then buying collections at a good price might be a little inconsistent because you're doing the outreach. People aren't reaching out to you. It might be easy to find a lot of bulk, but that's also very time heavy. Sealed might make the most sense for you, but it's also the most competitive. Everyone and their mom's trying to buy sealed product, right? There's always going to be lines of people in front of you. Unless you're the #1 scalper in North America, there's going to be people in front of you. In getting real distribution, that's heavily gated. That requires you to prove that you can move a lot of volume first. So with this stuff, you might get a great deal one week and you might get nothing the next week. And that might make it hard to hit your goals depending on what it is. And it's just crazy to think that instead of fixing this, I spent so much time with the small orders. I just spent so much time doing it, dude. Like I was optimizing the wrong side of the equation the whole time. The whole time. When Pokemon dips, and when there's more than enough supply, and when the scalpers move on to something else, and they will, that's when it reverses and it becomes hard to sell. I was acting like sales were all that mattered. So now the limit becomes allocations, spending requirements for big distributors, building relationships, having time in the system. They might not even talk to you until you have 3 years of history. And you're not going to start because you can't get one? Good luck, man. That's why I started looking at pre-orders, distribution access, even though pre-orders, terrible way to spend your money because your money's just locked up for a long time. That's more advanced, but it's a good way to start. At some point, it's good to evaluate your TCG business and find the actual bottleneck stopping you from scaling if you want to scale. I promise the problem's not you can't sell stuff. The problem is you can't buy stuff at a good price to sell. But once you start realizing that there's different bottlenecks, and if you attack the one that matters in your business that's stopping you from hitting your goals, once you realize that that's what you can do, it changes everything. At least it did for me. Then you have the scalping situation, or if you want to put it nice, flipping, right? A lot of people hate these guys, but it is another business model, right? So you buy from Walmart, from Target, Pokemon Center drops, you're in a line, and the value add is you're there first. And you want to be in line first, and you buy as much as you can from retail. You're going to pay the sales tax like a dummy, but you can immediately flip it and make a profit margin. That's your thing. There's immediate return on investment. The flips can be extremely fast because it's sealed, and there's a very, very, very low barrier to entry. Those are the positives for this. But that's also the problem because there's inconsistent supply. Just like how there's no value in being the second cheapest on the internet, There's no value in being the second scalper in line. You're competing with other scalpers. Pokemon Center drops, you're competing with bots now. And it's so reliant on timing. And there's going to be plays where you sell for cheap just to move stuff fast. This is an inventory turnover rate strategy. If you sell stuff under the market and you sell quick, well, you get your money back faster to buy stuff faster. So you actually compound more than the guys who hold out for the full market value. So you actually make more money by charging people less in a strange way. But you have to understand the numbers to make it work also. 6, 7. But otherwise it'll drive traffic. I've done it. It builds attention on your personal brand. Like Happy Tiger Gaming has a few subscribers now because of this. It builds attention. But also this attracts high friction customers like I was talking about earlier. So there's pros and cons to everything, like I said. But all of these strategies do have something in common. They all rely on you doing more work. This is running longer than I expected, so I wanted to make sure I showed you this real quick. This is the 80-20 principle. This is a principle of life, and it's a principle in business. So 80% of your efforts yield 20% of the results, and 20% of your efforts yield 80% of the results. This is actually super important in the TCG business, and here's examples of what I mean. So 20% of my good customers were giving me 80% of my TCG sales. And those bad customers I talked about, there was a bunch of them, and they barely gave me any sales. They only wanted stuff at MSRP. They complained. They wanted to send stuff back. They sent me angry emails when I ran out of stuff. And they only gave me 20% of sales for all of that. All of these customers, a little bit of sales. Talk about profits. It's the same thing. The good customers gave me more profits. The overwhelming majority of customers gave me little profits. Moving on. Complaints. The 20% of bad customers gave me the overwhelming majority of my complaints. All the good customers gave me almost no complaints. 80-20. It always works like this. Stress. 20% of my customers gave me 80% of my stress. That's why I'm okay cutting people out. All my good customers barely gave me any stress. Move on. Time consumption. 20% of my bad customers gave me 80%. It took 80% of my time up. All of these good customers barely took any time. This is an email. I sent this email to a distributor. That's the first month I did $9,000 in revenue. And this is the email that earned me a distribution, an official Pokemon distributor. I would have never had this email sent if not for that one good customer who doubled my sales that month. Think, if I decide to sell Pokemon at MSRP for the rest of my life, that only happened because I made money by selling it at market price to this one customer, right? So if you like buying stuff at MSRP, you have to acknowledge that it comes from money. It takes money to get to that point, right? At every single business, even Walmart, every business has a constraint. Every TCG business especially has a constraint. Right now, the current state of reality for me is I have too much capital tied up in inventory. AKA, I don't have enough cash because I have too many boxes of Pokemon and too many cases of Magic the Gathering that I haven't sold. So I have too much money tied up. That's slowing me down. That's my current business constraint. Another constraint is credit card usage, right? I have credit card bills that are tied up. That's a strategic decision that I made. I'm like, this is the risk, this is the reward, and there's probably going to be a time when I need to pay a bunch of credit card bills in 1 month. Now's that time. It's completely fine. Like, no matter what you're going to do, there's going to be some pressure from somewhere on your business. So for me, I need to ship out a bunch of boxes right now. I need to be smart with my time because I have a full-time job and it's tough. And now I just execute the plan that I have, and that's that. And then the constraint will be something else. So if you have a TCG business where TCG is a side hustle and you want to upgrade a little bit, just like when I found out one of my customers gave me all that money with no problems, unlike everybody else, ask yourself, what is the hard truth that you already know? Are you working on actually improving the business to where you want? Or are you avoiding that hard work? Because when you fix that, it stops becoming a Pokemon thing. It stops becoming a Pokemon TCG business. It's not a Magic the Gathering business anymore. It's just business. And it's really ironic. Because of the low barrier to entry, the TCG business is actually kind of on hard mode. Low margins, when you get down to it, when you try to scale, the margins shrink a lot. High competition, supply constraints. But if you can figure out how to make money in the TCG business now, and then you can figure out how to make money in the TCG business when the demand drops, you can figure out anything, dude. You hit a wall, you figure out what that wall is, and then you axe that guy down. You axe the wall down. Rinse and repeat. Like, if you think it's hard right now, what about when people don't want to buy from you? They don't even want to buy from Walmart. Who are you going to buy from when distributors are selling higher than TCG Player? That's how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is right now. My distro charges more than TCG Player, and they have been. How are you going to make money then? You can. You just need to find the right strategies that work for you. It's not about finding the best strategy on YouTube. It's about learning how to think about these things, because you have advantages that I don't, and vice versa. And your goals are different than mine. But this is TCG, and everybody just wants the quick flip, and nobody wants to actually build something meaningful. And that's completely okay. But if you want to take it to the next level, it's still possible. You can do it. It's just really hard. So bringing it back full circle, to me, that one customer didn't just bring in more revenue, he exposed a huge problem in my business. What I learned from that one customer is that not all sales are equal. In a perfect world, we all hold hands and everybody sells super cheap. And for some reason, the scalpers don't buy before you. Like, in the perfect world, it all makes sense. But then in reality, it doesn't. It just doesn't work. But no matter what your strategy is, no matter what your goal is, the most important thing, the biggest piece of advice I can give for anybody who's in the TCG grind right now, just keep in mind, time is the first thing you're going to run out of. So if you're thinking of running your TCG business, of improving it, if you like where you are, if you think it's hard, you're not alone, dude. Because business is hard, even if it's something you like. But once you define your TCG business goals, it does get a little easier. You could tie your actions to those goals. Every level has a boss. That's completely normal. Now, running into these walls in my business, it's just another boss. Of course there's going to be another boss in this level. Why wouldn't there be? Now I'm playing the game behind the game. This is business. It's the game behind the game. If you got any value out of this video at all, please subscribe. It means the world to me. I'm trying to grow this YouTube channel and I suck, so please help me. Okay, bye now. Have a good day. Bye.